This past weekend, or I guess middle of the week, I guess I should say, we had the Game Awards 2020, hosted by Jeff Keighley, the guy we all know and love for video games. I'm your host, Collin, here with my co-host, Curtis. Curtis, what were your thoughts on the Keigleys this year?
I always enjoy watching them. I think, before we get going, it goes without saying that this year above all years, like, kudos to Jeff Keighley and his team for putting this thing together. I read some, interviews with him, the, morning and day before, the awards, and he was just, talking through, things they had to do this year to, obviously keep things safe, and obviously there wasn't a live audience now. But they still wanted to have a stage because they felt that was important. So there's some good articles out there if you have not checked them out. So I just wanted to start that off. Otherwise, yeah, I thought the show was great. I found myself generally pretty in line with most of the awards. I think, there's some where it's I would have maybe preferred a different thing, game, and or person winning this award, but I'm also very much totally okay with what did win. That was typically how the night went for me as far as that stuff is concerned. Some cool new announcements. I feel like there was nothing earth-shattering, with maybe one exception. But perhaps not earth-shattering, but
meteor-shattering?
Meteor-shattering, perhaps.
Okay.
Smashing announcements, you may say.
Yes.
But I thought there was a good sprinkling of exciting or interesting things, which was good, right? I think this year above all else we've seen a lot of events where we are expecting crazy megaton announcements and they don't necessarily come, and I think a lot of reasons for that is because of what has happened this year. Mm-hmm. And so I think this show overall, I think the awards stuff was pretty solid. There's always some weird awards. There's always some weird categories that are I don't even know what that means. Sure. But I think overall, my impression from this awards show, and has been the case for pretty much all of them the past few years, is, hey, Jeff, you're doing good. You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Yeah, I a lot of people still hate on the Game Awards, and
Sure.
the VGXs.
They're very easy to make fun of.
Yeah, and the VGAs before that, but man, just having all of this planned out years in advance, knowing probably summer 2020 that this is going to be in the 2021 Game Awards and stuff like that, and having being connected to all these different publishers and developers to put all this together. It's Jeff Keighley is almost like his own publisher, almost, that it's okay, this is what we're going to show at Opening Night Live, and this is what we're going to show at the Game Awards, and we don't want to have everything all at once. And if I do have a weird complaint, I feel like this has been the last couple years at least, that it starts off with really great announcements, and then
Yes.
after that it just there's just really nothing.
Yeah,
I remember last year, especially with the Series X, which was big, but then he's oh, we got a lot more coming, and I was yeah, but nothing was nowhere close.
So last year they ended on the Fast and Furious game.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that.
We don't even really need to spend any time on that.
Yeah.
You can just look at reviews for it, right?
Yeah.
This year they ended on a new.
Oh gosh.
Not to get too deep into this, because we do have a pretty specific way we've organized this reaction show video. EA just needs to stop.
And they did it with Dragon Age earlier in the same show.
If I can just vent for 30 seconds.
You can do more than 30 seconds, but
for years now. For years. This is not, I don't believe this is an exaggeration, and if it is, call me out. For years, under one Andrew Wilson, who talks about how much they listen to feedback, and all the EA plays and whatever EA showcases they have. They just show nothing, or next to nothing. They might have a couple, usually the coolest things they show are their indie games, one of which we may talk about later. But otherwise, how long have we heard about this new Dragon Age? This new Dragon Age was announced, officially revealed and announced into the world at a Game Awards. I think one, maybe 2 years ago, and it was just a really short teaser.
It might have been
year,
18 because it was right before Anthem came out.
Yeah, they did it again this year, where there was like dialogue and like if you were a lore buff of Dragon Age, I'm sure you can probably like piece some stuff from that. And kind of similar to Mass Effect, right? Like there's some stuff shown that you can kind of piece together some hints. But they have been so bad for so long of just showing nothing. And not just like, hey, we have a short little teaser trailer, it's coming, and then like 6 months later we see it. No, like they just show nothing for years. Like this Dragon Age game, I fully do not expect to see gameplay of this for like a year and a half from now, at least. Like I would not be shocked at all for EA Play next June to be another just like, here's some very early concept footage of what we're working on. Good and well we will not see Mass Effect gameplay whatsoever next year.
It's borderline Bethesda announcing Starfield and then Elder Scrolls 6.
I at least like understand those because one, Bethesda has a track record of announcing things and releasing them pretty quick. And in those two cases specifically, it had been years and years of people being like, where is it? Where is it? We know you're making it. And so I kind of understand and can sympathize with them when they come out and they're like, listen, these are real projects we're making. But they're a long ways off. We're not going to be able to talk about them for a while, but we just like, you keep asking us, so yes, they're real. Like, I at least appreciate that like level of transparency, whereas EA is just like, I know you guys are worried because a bunch of really important people left BioWare last week. So don't worry, we're still making them. And like the Mass Effect thing, I almost feel like there's probably next to nothing of that.
Oh, probably
in
not.
Existence.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now the announcement of a new Mass Effect game, even though I'm pretty sure that had already been. Now it's weird. Like whatever, it doesn't matter. Collin, we've joined together today to share our 5 announcements, 5 things from the Game Awards that really caught our eye.
Yeah.
Or things that we like took away and have left an impression on us.
Yeah.
Would you like to begin? Would you like to start with your first?
Sure. My number 5 is probably one that we both share. It was in the pre-show, I believe. And I want to say this is the first full gameplay we have seen of Nier Replicant. So that was...
It is not.
Oh, it is not yours.
Yeah.
One of yours.
So
okay.
Now, to be fair to you, they did say during the show that this is the gameplay reveal.
Right.
It was not.
Okay.
But also, to be fair, it was the first like structured trailer showing gameplay.
See, I had remember seeing like concept of like the environments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I had not
so
actually
a few
seen
months ago, I think during TGS or like when TGS would have been happening, I don't remember exactly. There was a panel and it had like Yoko Taro, it had the producer, it had had a bunch of people involved with the Nier franchise. I get to say franchise now, which is exciting for Nier. And they showed like a brief clip of gameplay. So this is like a much more structured look at it and a lot more gameplay. But we had technically seen some before. I'm just playing semantics with the Game Awards, but yes, that's actually not on my list.
Though, and I was actually just looking at it. I guess apparently YouTube said that I saw that trailer from TGS, but it doesn't really seem like... I'm kind of watching now. I don't really recall like a ton of stuff in it, so like... I don't know. Yeah, maybe there was some. But this I feel like was more...
This was a more formal introduction. So that's not on my top 5 actually.
Okay. I
tried to keep my 5 to like sort of newer things.
Sure.
But Collin, talk to me about Nier.
So
what gets you hyped for it?
I had heard about Nier, and then of course the Automatas came out, and I went back and I looked at kind of like original Nier stuff, and I was like, I don't really know if I want to go back and play this. And then of course the new Replicant was getting announced, and I was thinking like, okay, we'll see how how much they adapt that Automata gameplay into the Near Replicant, and I think it's pretty well shown that yes, they're adapting Platinum Games' gameplay straight from it looks like straight from Automata into this game. So that has me really excited. I want to say they was it in the Game Awards they called it like officially like a prequel to Automata. Like I didn't really know if that's necessarily true. Like I mean it's the game before, but it's not like they're separate stories.
They are, and there are. So like there are characters in Automata that appeared in Nier, right? Like there are callbacks and there are references, but they're not like it's by no means. I mean, their stories are pretty disconnected, and like if you've played the original Nier when you're playing, Nier Automata, like you'll understand certain things, but it's not by any means like a requirement. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the way they like. I was mostly, I think, focused on the girl very much dedicated to like saying the full name, numbers included, and I thought she did a great job.
Yeah.
I think the most exciting thing about this one, I mean, other than the fact that yes, like it's very cool because this game, I go back and forth. Like I think I probably like Automata better, but this game by no means is a slouch either. Like this game is phenomenal. The story is just incredible. But so is the soundtrack. Like the soundtrack for both of these games are, I think some of my favorite soundtracks just of any video game. They're probably just the top two, right? Like, and you could probably interchange them. So it's exciting in that people who've not played the first, like, who now know what Nier is about and have fallen in love with Nier can now go back and play this. But also the updates to the combat, I think, are going to make a world of difference. Mm-hmm. That original game is jank. It is rough.
Like it. Yeah.
So for this to have updated combat and just look so much better is awesome.
Yeah.
And there's what's great about the original Nier as well. For someone like me who has played the original, like this is bringing over the version that released in Japan, and so the main character, instead of being an old guy who is the dad of a certain character, you're playing a younger person who is the brother instead, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the only difference.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how much that impacts dialogue in certain scenes. I imagine there is some differences there, but like there is a certain level of like newness that someone like me who did not play the Japanese version is going to get to experience as well. But those stories are pretty different. They do a lot of the same tricks, right? The way they're presented and the way you're, potentially replaying scenarios, like that's pretty much the same, right? Mm-hmm. It's handled a little different between the two games, but those stories do different things. There's different characters who have different goals, and there are some similarities, but I think they also stand on their own like pedestal, separate from each other. Mm-hmm. Which is cool. So it'll be exciting for new people to get to experience it. It'll be exciting to go back to it for the first time since it came out, which I think was like 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was 2010. I felt like it was.
Yeah.
So like it's my number 5, but I'm still not there on day one, if that makes sense. I guess it just depends on like what else I'm playing around that time. Like for example, I forgot to mention to you, I actually finally started up Resident Evil 3 today. Nice. Just because like when Resident Evil 3 came out, I was like all the way in on Doom Eternal and like Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So it's like, it's just eventually it's like, okay, I'm playing this at some other point. And that might be what happens to Near Replicant too. Then I'm like, okay, like I'll just wait until it's cheaper and then I'll just pick it up then and then play
I don't think I'll be able to avoid it. I think this is just one of those things that when it comes out, I'm going to be like, yeah, I have to.
Sure.
But yeah, so I did leave that off my 5 list because I just kind of felt like it was, it was like, yep, I'm already there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you order yours and like a list of most excited or?
Yes, I have a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and one
Okay,
game
I did not order mine, but I'm going to
Okay.
try to order them on the fly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start, Colin, with a little game called Shady Part of Me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was one of the shadow drops during the show.
Yeah.
And I have I have bought, played, and completed this game. So here's a little mini review impressions of Shady Part of Me. This game is published by oh my god,
Wasn't it a Focus Home game?
it's Focus Home Interactive. The developer, I don't know how to pronounce their name. I think it's like a French studio. I tried looking them up. I could not figure out if they had done anything before. I believe this is their first game. It's out on PC, PS4, and I think it's out on Xbox. I think it's those three. So Shady Part of Me, I think it was pretty early in the show. It might have actually been in the pre-show. I don't remember.
I think it is, yeah.
But it was just a really interesting style and like a really cool visual style, and that's kind of what got me into it. And it's like $15 or like $13 if you got PS Plus, so it was a pretty easy, just blind purchase. If you there's an old game I think on the Wii called Lost in Shadow, and it's kind of like a little puzzle platformer where there's like it's a kind of a 3D environment, but you're playing on basically like the shadows of a wall. So it's like a 2D platformer, side-scrolling. It's kind of like that, except Shady Part of Me, you're playing two characters. So you're playing a girl and you're playing her shadow. And so you're pressing the triangle button to swap between the two. So the girl it's a puzzle platformer, pushing boxes, pulling levers, that kind of deal. The girl is afraid of light, or she cannot enter light, and so you're in a like 3D environment, and you can only walk through shadows. And so there are times where maybe there's like the beam of a light coming through a window, and you can't pass it because there's light there. So you swap to the shadow of her, or like her shadow, but it's not. Don't think of it as a shadow that is realistically being cast by her 3D model. They are separate. They will move separately, okay? So you'll switch to the shadow, and maybe you pull a lever, you push something to cause the light in the 3D environment for a shadow to be casted across that area, so then you can move the girl, right? And vice versa. It's mostly taking the 3D character, pulling a lever, pushing some boxes to create shadows that act as platforms for your little shadow character. I think visually, like, really interesting. It does not take that much time at all to get very weird and very like Alice in Wonderland style like scenery going on, like a lot of like stairs twisting and just like the world and rooms you're in like twisting and turning in really weird ways, like just things that you might see, like if you're thinking like Alice in Wonderland and the kind of fantastical architecture that you might find. It's kind of the stuff that you see in this game.
I was thinking very contrasty, speaking of like PS4
definitely,
launch game, especially with the lights as well.
Definitely some contrast vibes. The story is could have been better, I think. It's a lot of like very short blips of dialogue. It doesn't really stop you. There's not really cutscenes. It's just as you're progressing through puzzles, you will hear your character talk a lot. And like there's a lot of back and forth between the shadow and then the like girl, and sometimes it's a little hard to tell who's talking to who. The voices are like slightly different between the shadow and the girl, but then also as you get a little bit farther into the game, and really throughout most of it, you're also hearing this guy talk to you. My assumption and my reading of it is that the male voice is like a therapist, and that the girl is like basically as you're playing through the game, you're hearing their conversations as the girl is trying to cope with something. But because it's a lot of very short snippets, and a lot of it's like you have to try harder. You can do this. I can do this. It's like a lot of very short lines. So I feel like there's not a lot of time or opportunity for the game to really spell out like what's going on.
It almost is it like is the girl like suffering from like a multiple personality disorder kind of thing?
Maybe it's unclear, and I almost don't want to like speculate too much just because of like the subject matter, right? Like I was waiting for there to be moments of like, oh, is it her parents? Was she mistreated by her parents? Like, because like I think when the game starts, you're in this room where she like hops up off this bed, and it looks like a psych ward kind of thing. Like, and then it just gets weirder from there, and you're in like a carnival at one point, and you're in a classroom. But it's a lot of like some of the dialogues, like I remember learning, but I don't remember what I learned. Like, and you're in a classroom doing a puzzle, or like, it's just stuff like that where they're saying things but not really saying much, and you can kind of piece some of it together, but I think it's way too vague. And I kind of wish it wouldn't have been. Like, I don't mind the vagueness. I was just hoping that towards the end there would be things that are revealed that like that you're like, oh, okay, I get what's going on now. Like I think about I'm blanking on the name, but if you remember the PS4 game from the team that did Linger in Shadows, it's like the ballet game.
Oh, Bound.
Bound, yes. So you think of Bound, right? And like Bound is pretty vague and like obtuse, right? And it's like very abstract storytelling. But by the end of that game, I think you have like a really clear picture of what the story is trying to tell. Right? And I think shady part of me where it kind of falters for me is that by the end of the game, I'm still like, I think it's a girl talking to a therapist and working through some emotions, but I'm really not sure like what anything else means or is. Which is a little bit of a bummer. The other thing I will say about it, this game's like 4 or 5 hours, so it's pretty short. It feels like maybe 6 or 7. So I actually wish this game was co-op. I think it maybe would have worked better, and the pacing probably would have gone a little better for me if it was co-op, because like you're going left to right pretty much the whole game, and so there's a lot of puzzles where it's like, okay, I will take one character that moves rather slowly to the checkpoint, and then I will switch back to the other, and I've solved the puzzle at this point, so I will switch back to the other character who moves rather slowly to the checkpoint as well. And so there's a lot of just like back and forth, and your characters move slow. So it definitely just drags a bit once you reach like, I don't know, like maybe a little bit farther than the halfway point. I definitely felt it starting to drag. But again, it's like 4 hours long. It's fun. The trophies have not synced with the PSN servers yet. So like, I know I got a lot of them, but I can't like view them at all.
Is it like the trophies weren't live on the back end kind of thing?
I think that's what it is. And as of today, it's still not. So I don't know what's going on there. I had to look up the like Steam copy and look at the achievements to be like, what all is there? Wait, did I miss anything?
Yeah.
There are collectible like origami cranes that you can get. And those are cool. A lot of those require you to do the puzzle a little bit differently to like reach the crane. The checkpointing system is also really, really strong. Like there's like 96 cranes in the game, and 4 acts. So if you do miss cranes, you can go back to any. There's a checkpoint between every single puzzle, so you basically go back to any act. You can see how many cranes you are missing, and you can go to any single puzzle within that act, of which there are usually a lot. So like checkpointing, very great. Like if you're wanting to like go back and finish up the collectibles you're missing,
sure.
You can usually go to basically any given point you want to.
Cool.
Which is nice because it's it's a game that otherwise would take a long time to clean up the collectibles just because of how slowly you're moving and you're like going through multiple puzzles to get back to wherever you need to be.
Yeah, and it's like the only other developer I feel like that does that is like Naughty Dog. How they're like, you can choose what specific encounter you want, and they're like, oh, this is the best way to farm it, so I'm going to go to this specific encounter kind of thing.
So yeah, cool game. Glad I played it. I wish, I think there's definitely room for improvement, but again, it sounds like this might be their first game too, and so think there's a lot of cool stuff here that I liked. I just wish I'm good with the length. I just wish like a co-op version of this could be cool. I think.
Yeah. So my number 4. This is gonna have to be like a 2-part discussion, and we're gonna get into the first part here. So my number 4 is Returnal.
Okay.
What in the world was up with that PT looking door?
Yeah,
at the beginning?
It's weird, right?
Okay, so the re-upload that's on the PlayStation YouTube channel does not have it. But I don't understand. Like, so, is that part of the game? It looks like she's wearing a helmet, first person, and then it's the
Collin,
PT door.
We've said numerous times, just in our own conversations, but also on recordings of various podcasts this year. Both of you and I both, I think, agree that we believe the Silent Hill rumor. Right? Like, I don't know where you're at this point, but I still think I believe it.
Yeah.
I still think I buy into it, at least some amount of it. And so when it showed up, I really thought we were about to see Silent Hill.
I thought so too. I was like, holy cow, this is it. And then Returnal.
That said, I'll let you take the stage. This is your number 4, but I don't have Returnal on my list either.
Oh, okay.
Just because it was a known quantity.
Sure, and it was.
But that game looks great.
Yeah, so like Returnal, we had seen like technically like we got that debut trailer, and we had seen like little like quick like 5-second snippets of cuts, which I mean that's really what this trailer was, but it was more substantial cuts, I guess I should say. And really the best thing I can think about is it really seems like Housemarque's kind of normal stuff, like either Alienation or Deus. What's the Nex Machina? That's the one I was thinking
Nex
of.
Machina, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like that, but it's more in like a third-person shooter kind of aesthetic. Like it still has that kind of shoot 'em up stuff flying at you, like in a pattern where you're trying to avoid it and whatnot.
So as I think about it, though, honestly, with the PT thing, like the door, and what we know about the story, and we know that this is a roguelike of some sort.
Yes.
I do think we might see like shades of PT in this.
So is it going to be like BioShock Infinite, where every time you die, you walk through the door, and then it's like, I was even
thinking like a hallway or something. Like I think we might like, if you think about PT, you're just looping through a hallway. I think we're going to see stuff like that. Just a little bits of the stories we've seen. It does seem to be. I don't know if it's a straight out and out horror game. Like I don't think it is. It'll probably be more like sci-fi.
Third-person action
adventure, like a light horror, maybe, right? Like horror elements, but more sci-fi-ish stuff going on. The thing that excites me the most, right? Like one, it looks great. When we in Housemarque, we know that they make great things. I think the fact that it clearly looks bigger budget, it's full on like a 3D world and not like top down, anything like not twin stick shooter or anything like that. And that there is a story. Right, I think those things might help make it something that's a little bit more noticeable for them.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, obviously Resogun got a lot of buzz because it was at launch and it was a PS Plus game, but, like, you almost never hear people talk about Nex Machina.
Yeah.
You don't really hear people talk about some of their other games.
Yeah.
And they're all great. They're all, like, really great. So I'm hoping that this is kind of the big, like, standout thing for Housemarque. And that, also because it's full price. It's, like, $70.
It is, yeah. I was going to bring that up.
And so hopefully this game's great. Hopefully it reviews well, because like it would be great for Housemarque to get the recognition they deserve, and not just from like the enthusiast crowd that we are sometimes part of.
And I'm really happy that Housemarque is, I guess, like, I mean, in a way, like going back to some of the roots and working with PlayStation again, because like after Nex Machina, it sounds like it did really well critically, but maybe not commercially.
Yeah.
And then Matterfall was kind of both not very successful commercially or critically. There was that kind of like that side-scrolling game. And then like they announced they were going to do that Battle Royale game Storm Divers, and then they canceled that, I think.
There was, before, even I think before Storm, or maybe it was when Storm Divers was announced, there was that interview where they basically said, they're like, we can't keep making the games that we like to make.
Yep, they're
because
not
the
going to pay the
money's
bills.
not there.
Yep.
And I think, what's exciting about Returnal is that it clearly is a bigger step for them and like a bigger project, but it's still, like you mentioned, it still feels very, just from what we've seen, very true to their roots. And so hopefully it's like a middle ground where they have found a way to make the kind of games that they like to make,
Yeah.
while also maybe making it more appealing to a bigger audience. And that's exciting.
And in a way, I hope this game doesn't turn into PS5's The Order 1886, where like, yeah, it's a full price game and then it lasts like 4 or 5 hours kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it, like, not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with 4 or 5 hour games. Like, sure, I'd like a little bit longer, but I mean, if you can give me a great experience for that amount of time, I think that's awesome. But I think I mean that in just the sense that, like, I feel like when people look back at The Order, they just kind of look at it as like a laughing stock kind of game. That's just kind of like what I worry about Returnal, that it's going to be like, oh yeah, it's that game that I paid $70 for at launch,
Sure.
and played it
think-
in one night, and that was it.
I think at least with Returnal, if you think about Housemarque, right, like their bread and butter is the kind of game that is replayable.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you would hope, I mean, that my expectation at least is like, this is, considering it's a roguelike, considering who the developer is, like, I think my expectation is that there will be elements of this that will make people want to keep playing, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see, right? Like, I think that we still, like, it would be cool to get, I don't know, some kind of like state of play mini or something that kind of goes a little bit more in depth into the game and seeing like more uncut footage of it, because it is out in March. You know, it's not far
like
away.
19th, I think maybe was the date. Yeah.
So like that's cool too. That it's not. There's only a few months away. So it would, you know, maybe in the beginning of the year we get some stuff for Destruction All Stars, but then also Returnal, and see some more just like uncut, like whatever, like upgrades, types of weapons, types of enemies, environment, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just to see like how actually big in scope is this game.
Yeah, especially with Returnal being mid-March now. Now I'm projecting that, you know, Ratchet and Clank to be more April, May,
Like
maybe
April,
even
May,
June kind of look now.
I feel like April feels right,
Yeah.
but you know, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully next month or two, because then they'll be relatively close to it coming out. So.
Yeah.
But what's
So,
your number 4?
Yeah, okay, so I'm doing this on the fly. My number 4, I think this one feels right. I'm gonna say, I believe you pronounce this Chia.
Yeah,
Chia?
Yeah, I had this on my almost list.
Okay.
It almost made my list.
So this game, I think also might have been in the pre-show. It was pretty early on.
It was the third thing shown, I do believe.
Okay. So this is, this game really reminded me a lot of Moana. Maybe like as far as just like vibes, like just gave me some big Moana vibes. I think like game inspirations, definitely like Breath of the Wild in some respects. I'm gonna read the like short little synopsis they have from their website, which is just climb, glide, swim, and sail your boat around a beautiful archipelago in this physics-driven sandbox. Use Chia's special ability to take control of any animal or object and jam on your fully playable ukulele. So this is the game. I think if you're not remembering what this was the game that had the very basically the same guitar playing mechanic as The Last of Us did this year.
Yes.
Except this game is the ukulele.
It looks the exact same interface and everything.
Yeah, that crazy, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to my brother about it, and we were like, well, you know, they were probably working on this before.
Right.
The Last of Us came out.
They're probably like, son of a gun.
Yeah, they probably saw him like, God dang it, man.
Yep.
I would imagine, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting. It's funny that like it's the exact same interface.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, art assets probably different, but it's the same kind of thing. Maybe that's just what works.
Sure.
Maybe they just found out this is the only way to make it happen.
Yeah.
This is also the game where your character, you know, in the trailer was just basically possessing animals and other objects, like a tire.
It was Mario Odysseying things.
It reminded me of everything.
I was thinking about everything too. Yep.
Yeah. This game just looks, it just looks fun, like a cozy, good time. I think it's right now just announced for PC.
There's a Stadia trailer of this,
or
too,
Stadia.
so
that's what it is. I think it's
it's
PC and Stadia.
Okay.
But it sounds like it's something that they're like, you know, willing to bring elsewhere, and I feel like it will. I feel like this is a game that caught some eyes just from the buzz I saw on Twitter. The developer name, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. It's Awaceb. It's spelled Awaceb. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. I looked to see what else they had done. It looks like they made a game called Fossil Echo, also just on PC. I've not heard of this game. I saw some screenshots, and it's a really just great look, like visually, a really nice looking, I think, like 2D adventure game. But other than that, I've not really seen anything else they've done before. This just, I don't know, this really caught my eye. I thought it just looked really great. But again, I thought the trailer did a great job of showing like the variety of things that you can do. Like when your little character is like swimming under the water, there's parts where you like fling yourself off of like a palm tree and then you're gliding across the island. I don't know much about like what the story is or what like the goal of the game is. It just looked fun. And so it really stood out to me. So I'm super excited. Hope it's brought to consoles as well. I feel like it probably will be.
Yeah, looking at the trailer now, I don't see any release date, anything like that.
Yeah.
It just says learn more on there. But yeah, that was one that I remember.
Their website, their website's got some good screenshots. Trailer's got a lot of good stuff in it too. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember watching it and being like, yeah, I like this for sure. Yep. Number 3, I'm gonna guess this also might be on your list. So my number 3 is the man himself in the Brothers That Smash, Sephiroth in Smash Brothers is my number 3. So
not on my list.
Not on your list
because
either.
Because I knew it would be on yours. So
okay,
it gave me an extra
that's what
spot.
I figured. Yeah, that's I kind of wondered
about
that.
Playing the game.
Yeah. So I hadn't lost my mind since Banjo in Smash, who shows up in this trailer. Love it. That amiibo's coming out like early next year. Love it. Super excited. But I just remember watching that Banjo reveal and like losing my mind. And then like we had Terry, and I was like, and then we had Byleth, who was like, come on, man. And then like even through the Minecraft Steves and the Min-Mins, I was just like, okay, whatever. I just did not see if there was going to be another Square Enix character, it had to be Sora, right? Like if there was if there was another Square Enix character, it had to be Sora. And instead they give us Sephiroth.
See, I was really buying into the Crash Bandicoot, like rumors running around that day up to the show.
Yeah. Because him and Keeley, Crash and Keeley like to do all their stuff together.
This was such a good, like, I'm like hard pressed to think of like other games that do CG like trailers as good as Smash Brothers does.
Mario got killed that night.
That was the craziest thing.
It was so weird that it was just like
that shot.
Yep.
Like this is like I don't know if Sakurai directs these trailers or I don't know like how many people work on these things because I don't want to like attribute credit to one specific person or I would love to know who so I could give credit because whoever came up with that idea, whoever was the person or the people who decided like we're gonna have this wide shot silhouetted of Sephiroth impaling Mario, just take it.
Yeah, and they killed Luigi in a previous trailer, and now they killed Mario and.
I forgot about Luigi. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the Simon Belmont trailer, wherever they killed Luigi in that.
That's a good one.
But yeah, it was just the fact. I was watching a couple of people who like play Smash. They were like talking about how ridiculous this character looks and like the wide range that Sephiroth's sword can hit and can like impale into walls and stuff like that. Like it feels like every time there's a new. Like, I remember hearing it a lot with Hero from Dragon Quest when he came in, that, like, there were, like, Smash tournaments that were banning Hero because, like, he's just, like, too OP or, like, his RNG just, like, isn't fair kind of thing. And I just feel like they're going to have the exact same thing with Sephiroth in this game, that it's just going to be like, no, we got to...
Possibly, but...
We got to ban Sephiroth.
So here's the thing, is, and I told my brother this because we were watching some of this, is, like... You know, I don't think like I really enjoy these Smash Brothers reveals, but then none of them really get me to go back to the game.
Mm-hmm. Good point. This one
And
did for me.
this one doesn't. It's real close.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Sora would probably be the only thing that would be like, all right, I'm getting it out now. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I mentioned we didn't really have any like huge megaton announcements. Like this was our trailer. This was like our big, crazy reveal. It was great. Yeah, like I think everything about that trailer was just perfect.
Yeah.
You think about like, because I think it highlights what's special about Smash too, is like you have sequences where I think it's like Banjo, Sonic, and someone else. They're like looking up.
I don't know. Yeah.
And like, and just fear, and then you see, and then like there's just Sephiroth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what is going on?
Yep.
There's so many great memes I've seen just from this trailer alone.
Yeah.
I saw a really great, someone drew a picture of like Kirby as Sephiroth.
Oh yeah,
and it was animated, and they like put the One Winged Angel theme to play through as like just a looping video, and that's incredible.
Yeah. There's the.
I'm dying.
I was gonna say
it's
there's
not out yet. I'm dying to see what Kirby looks like.
Oh yeah, it's like the gray hair and everything, and the long hair coming down. So like, there's even a part in the trailer where it's like the Kirby's stage that was like the one that was in Melee, where it's like got that like aluminum foil looking ground, and they have this shot of like Zelda or it's Peach just like laying there, and then Sephiroth coming down like as if it's Aerith, and it's like, oh my gosh,
they
thought of all of it.
They know. And I'm also at this point with Smash, like, my opinion really matters none, because I played it when it came out a bunch. I haven't touched it since, and I'm not involved in the community at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I really hope any new Smash game just follows what this game did, and it's just like all the characters are already here.
I just
we're
don't
just gonna keep adding.
I just don't know how they're gonna be able to top when Smash 5, 6, whatever comes out. I just don't see how they're gonna be able to top what this game did. Right. And that's why I feel like
I guess that's
everything.
What I mean. Like, you think when when Ultimate got announced, it was just like it was a crazy thing of like, yeah, we're just like making the current one better. Like all the characters are back. And we're just gonna keep adding. And I feel like that's the way to go at this point, because like how much of a bummer would it be if Smash Switch on the Switch 2 is just like, oh, we're back to 32 characters or whatever. Like,
I know.
I feel like that's just a natural progression at this point. It's just like wanting them to keep making more characters. But I do wonder, like, I don't know, it definitely feels like we're running out. Or, I mean, we're not, right? We're definitely not. They could add characters forever. And like, I think Sephiroth is a really cool pick, and I'm glad he's in there, but it's definitely like, all right, who's next? Like, what? When is Goku coming in?
Yeah, and I feel like if anything people would complain about with this character is that it's another swordsman character. Like that's like a complaint with Smash. So there's so many swordsman characters through all the Fire Emblem Zelda characters, and all that stuff. But it was really interesting seeing like days before this announcement, everybody like about Nintendo canceling things and the save Smash, save Melee, all that stuff, and then them canceling the Splatoon event. Everybody's like really hardcore against Nintendo, and then like this comes out and it's like everybody's losing their minds on it and stuff like that. And then like
they know they got us.
Yeah, exactly. But I just thought Sephiroth was a really big surprise that I was not expecting, and so I did not buy the first Fighters Pass until Banjo came out. And now I actually think I'm probably gonna buy this Fighters Pass when Sephiroth comes out.
Do you know how many characters are left in the second Fighters Pass? Are we at 2 or 1 more character?
I think we're at 3, because I want to say because there was the 5 in the first Fighters Pass, and I think the second Fighters Pass is 6 characters, and we've only had Min, Steve, and now Sephiroth. So I think there's still 3 more.
Cool. Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, I couldn't remember how many were left.
Yeah.
Still room for Astrobot.
More room to. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hope so. But yeah, that's my number 3. Super pumped about Sephiroth. So
My number 3, man, we're into the point now where I'm real curious because we've not had overlap yet.
yeah, we
And
haven't.
I feel like of
It's
my
fun.
last 3, there's got to be one of these.
There's one
on your
I'm
list.
very confident that is on our list together.
Yes, at least one. At least one. Yeah. If it's not on your list, I will be upset. But
Yes.
we'll get there because it's probably my number 1.
Okay.
So my number 3 is a little game called Season.
Not on my list.
Okay, so this is... I'm going to read the quick synopsis here. Season, a third-person atmospheric adventure bicycle road trip game. If that doesn't sell it. Through the eyes of a young woman from a secluded community, explore the world for the first time, collect artifacts and memories before a mysterious cataclysm washes away the world. This is a game coming to PS5, and I'm assuming PC, but it was introduced as like a new game coming to PlayStation 5.
Right. Yep.
It's from the developers Scavengers. Their previous game was the Darwin Project.
Oh.
So like an interesting like shift.
Yeah.
This game one visually looks stunning, I think. There's a really cool line in the trailer where it's something like our grandparents had a lifetime to, or like centuries to explore. Our parents had a lifetime or something like that, and then it's like and we just have a season. And through the trailer, this character is like recording insects and just taking pictures and just exploring the world, and that's all it is. And there's like gameplay snippets of you riding a bike down a long windy road, and it gave me heavy Final Fantasy 15 vibes. Weirdly enough, mostly just the road trip part, but that like shot of her like riding a bike down just a curvy road, I was like, yes.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yep.
It's like almost like, can I go there, or is it it's like an actual environment, not just some background box thing that's just there. Skybox.
And just a lot of shots in that trailer too that I think are intentionally like mysterious, because it's just a lot of stuff of like, what kind of world is this? Like, is this grounded in reality? I think there's some shots in the trailer that make it look a little bit more fantastical and a little bit more out there. But this is another one similar to the Chia game, where it's like, I don't know if we have a clear like release time frame, but I hope it's not far out. I hope that these are both games that like we see and then we talk about a year from now as being like, whatever happened to that? I hope they're both like games that we'll hear from pretty soon again, because now that we know about them, I would love to learn more. Season especially, that one really jumped out to me.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So that's my number 3.
Yeah, that's one that I thought about, but I wasn't. I had no idea that was the Darwin Project developer, because that no pun intended project kind of fell flat on its face.
Yeah.
I think it was like
I didn't either.
Xbox,
it wasn't until I looked them up.
Yeah,
I was like, oh.
I want to say it was like actually shown at an Xbox press conference at one point. Yeah, that's how kind of forgettable it was. Then like no one remembered anything about it. So my number 2 might be your number 1. I'm gonna assume it's your number 1 because It Takes Two, baby. Yeah, is that
this game looks so good?
Which one? Which number is this on your list?
Well, you'll find out. You'll find out momentarily.
Okay. So just a little backstory. Like, I played Brothers. I liked Brothers. It was okay.
Oh, we should introduce. This is the new game from Joseph Fares.
Joseph Fares
from Hazelight.
Hazelight, yeah, EA Originals, all that stuff.
It was announced formally back in June or July, whenever EA Play was.
Yep.
Alongside, if you remember, there's another indie game they announced, and I'm blanking.
Arena.
No, I'm blanking on the name. It was the little girl. It was like a very Alice in Wonderland looking, and there was like a dice character that followed you around.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's from the same developer that did Faye.
Yeah, the Stick It to the Man, those same Zombie Vikings.
So that was actually, I was hoping that we would see more of that game as well, but we did not.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look that up real quick. Maybe I'll find it here in a little bit. But yeah, so It Takes Two is the next game from Joseph Fares, and again, like Brothers, I liked. It it was actually a single player game, though it looked like it was multiplayer, but it wasn't. Then we had Joseph Ferris at the Game Awards a few years ago in his moment, I guess, let's say, really funny moment. Then
Lost in Random.
Oh, I don't know if it would have gotten that off the top of my head.
No.
But then A Way Out came out, and I want to say that might have been like my second or third favorite game of 2018 was A Way Out.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I played that with a friend on PS4. Like, I think maybe other games had done it before, but like just how like that game concludes and like the secrets and like, you know, not to get any spoilers, but like it's so important. Like, you know, I can't remember the main characters' names in A Way Out, but like it was like, let's just say it was like Steve and Rick or something like that. But it's like it was so imperative that like you play each session as that same character towards the end of that game. So I was very excited to see what Joseph Ferris his next game was. Yeah, we heard a little bit about it at EA Play this year, 2020. But yeah, we got this full trailer, and man, this freaking book of love with the smiley faces and the eyes and everything. Again, I'm assuming, because I don't know if they've 100% said, but I mean, it looks very multiplayer only.
It is.
Okay, I didn't know
I think
if it was
he
100%
explicitly says like this cooperative only adventure at some point.
Okay. And I'm just very excited that he does stuff like that. Like, because like nobody else does stuff like even if there is co-op, there's like, oh, but there's a way you can play it single player. I remember playing A Way Out, trying to get like the last couple of trophies I needed, and I was actually like, because I had rented it, and I was like sitting there with both controllers trying to get like these last trophies, trying to do them together. I did get them, but yeah. So we have these like they're not necessarily claymation, but they're like little like dolls, basically, that it seems like it's like a married couple or a couple in a relationship that gets trapped inside these dolls.
We'll call them married. I'm my assumption. There's a picture of them married, like at their wedding, basically. But the picture is ripped apart. I'm assuming that it's like a couple on the rocks. And just from the dialogue in the trailer, it sounds like that it's very fairy tale-esque. Where it's like, oh, they've been cursed, and now they're living as dolls, and so the game is them trying to break that curse.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like to do that, they need to basically make up.
Right.
And you know, figure out their differences.
Yeah.
But Colin, the thing that really strikes me about this trailer is just how much there is.
A lot of variety.
There's like every different shot, there is like a new... what appears to be a new way to play the game, if that makes sense, right? There's a sequence where it's like that looks straight out of Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, and then there's another where they're like bobsledding, and then there's another where it's like a top-down dungeon crawler looking thing, and like every single shot, like there's one where they're like piloting, and you can see they're all like piloting these little like toy planes, I think, above a sea of just like the plastic balls that you would find in like
they're fidget spinners. They're flying area. They're flying fidget spinners. It's so good.
Yeah, there is so like this trailer reminds me a lot, and I hope I'm not dooming this game. It reminds me a lot of like some of the trailers for Ukulele. Where the trailers were just packed with so much just like gameplay that just looked fun and interesting and different and unique, and there was a lot of variety. This is what that trailer really like stood out to me for. It was just like, one, obviously song choice is on point.
Yep.
The story, like the voice acting and all that stuff sounds really good. But just like consistent every single cut, there was like something new that looked fun and looked interesting.
Yeah, and even with this, same way as A Way Out, it has that kind of friend pass thing. Yep. So I think really all you have to do, like at least with A Way Out, all you had to do was download the demo. And if you had a friend that actually had the game, you could just...
Yeah, it works the same. You buy one copy and you can share it.
Yep. So
which is great.
Play it online and also local as well. So yeah, that was... I don't know. Did we have a release date on...
March 26th.
March 26th. Yeah, we did. Yep. Current, or I guess I should say last gen and PS5, Xbox Series S and X. Very excited, very
so this
excited
game,
for that.
This game was originally announced. If you remember, we even said something about this. It was originally announced for like at the time current gen systems, and they didn't mention PS5 or Xbox Series X at all.
Oh yeah, that
back
was
in
that whole
June when they
EA
announced
thing.
this game.
Yeah, that's right.
And they did the same with Lost in Random. Both of those games were announced as PS4 and Xbox One games. This game now has confirmed PS5, Xbox Series X release. I'm assuming the same will be for Lost in Random, but time will tell on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game looks fantastic.
Yeah, I just feel like whereas like this is definitely the most like distinct, I guess, tone that they've gone for. Like Brothers was very somber, I guess I'd say. Way Out was very like, I don't want to say like bro-y, I guess, kind of, but it's like, oh, we got to get out of here.
It was like a Prison Break kind of
gritty.
Yeah,
it was a Prison Break, gritty. That's good. That's a better way to describe it. And this one is just so, I don't know if I use the word wacky or whatnot, but it's so much different than a lot of other things we've seen, especially
if you just think about it,
show.
Like, they're transformed into dolls, and I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing, it looks like toys. Right? Like, it looks like they're like journeying around through play areas and toy stores perhaps and things like that. So it's interesting. Like I would love to like hear Joseph Fares talk about the fact that his 3 games so far have been focused around like multiple characters, and even though obviously Brothers is a single player game, like it's games focused around 2 characters specifically being controlled at the same time. So they moved into cooperative. But like, this game is interesting because, it seems focused on like maybe playing it with your significant other, right? If you think about the story. And like, that's probably not mandatory, but like, it feels like that would fit, right? While also, this is a game that like has a very childlike sense of wonder, I think. At least from the trailer that we saw. And I feel like I might be wrong. I might be wrong. I thought when it was revealed back in June that they were like, it's a brother sister, and maybe that changed, but I could be misremembering.
Oh yeah, I can't. I don't know that.
I'd have to go back. I didn't go back and watch the original reveal trailer. But either way, It Takes Two.
Yeah,
it looks great.
I would love a Joseph Fares GDC talk. Maybe there's even one out there.
Yeah,
I don't know, but and it sounds weird. Like, I'm not ready to put him in this pantheon of names yet, but like, I love Hideo Kojima. I love Ken Levine. I love, you love Yoko Taro. Like, Joseph Fares is getting there.
Just me. I'm the only one.
You're the only guy, who's on the Yoko Taro.
Yeah.
But like, I really do feel like Joseph Fares is like getting there. That I'm like, wow, I'm like actually really excited for this Joseph Fares game.
I think obviously like, there's memes about his F the Oscars stuff, but like, and I feel like maybe, I don't know of A Way Out. I feel like Brothers I feel like I maybe saw more buzz from that game, but maybe that's just because it was new. It was like, there wasn't expectations around it. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear his thoughts about like, now that it's 3 straight games of this kind of like philosophy, especially now 2 straight where they're doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Of like, it has to be played cooperative. You can't play it any other way. Like, I wonder, like, is this something like, will this just be your thing? Is there like some kind of philosophy you have behind this? Like, I would love to know just his thoughts as to like why he's approached it this way.
Yeah.
No complaints either, because we don't have a lot of these. And I think a lot of the ones we have maybe are not always great. So my number 2.
Yes.
Is the Callisto Project.
Yeah. Not on my list, but...
So, Striking Distance Studios, it's a new studio, I think founded by Glenn Schofield.
Yeah.
If you feel like that name's familiar, you'll know him from, I think, Sledgehammer, right?
Yep.
Specifically, he and apparently the team he has gathered, or maybe it's just him, he's known for 2 things, right? He's known for Call of Duty, but he's also known for a little game called Dead Space.
Yep.
This game, as described by them, is a new story-driven single-player survival horror game from the creators of Dead Space, coming 2022. If you watch it's like a CG trailer, and I think this is we were talking a bit and kind of like giving EA crap for Dragon Age and Mass Effect, right? I think the Callisto Project is a good example of when I'm okay with CG trailers. And I would like to explain why. Because this trailer, I think, does a really great job of basically telling you exactly what this game is and setting expectations. And like, yeah, it would be cool to see gameplay, but also, as a huge fan of Dead Space, there's a little bit of me that it's like, it's nice to just know that this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think, so a few things, right? In the trailer, you see a character waking up, and they're like locked in a cell, it seems. And around the back of his neck, there's like a light bar. Right?
Oh, dude, that's the health bar. I just thought of
yes.
that.
Well, or it's something, or a sanity meter or something, right?
I didn't make that
So
connection.
Dead Space, one of the really cool things that franchise did is the way it handled its UI. And on the back of your character, you had lights and you had like tubes that lit up and stuff that basically showed you like how much health you had. And then on your guns, when you would aim, you could see like a hologram sprouting out from around the gun that like showed how much ammo you had. You had like LED lights that would shoot out, and so you could aim different directions with your guns, right? And so I think that little detail, one, immediately, like, obviously going into the trailer, we knew who it was, we knew what their history had been, but we didn't know what kind of game they were making. I think immediately you see that light and you know, okay, this is obviously a Dead Space kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right out of the gate. And I think also the trailer just was good at introducing, like, it seems like two different kinds of threats. I'd have to rewatch the trailer, but like you see one thing in the room with him, and the trailer kind of like ends where it seems like the thing, the alien, the whatever it is, like gets him at the end, right? And it goes to black.
With two
but there's
jaws
something
or
else,
2 mouths or whatever.
Yeah, there's like something else on the outside of the cell that he's like looking at too. And that's really it. There's not much else with a little bit of dialogue. And obviously 2022 is like, oh man, that feels so far off. But also, like, if it's early 2022, then it's a year off, right?
Sure.
But for me, the reason why this works is, yeah, it's just like, hey, here's a franchise that, you know, kind of got ruined after a couple releases, right? But like its initial one is really great. I would love a remaster of the original Dead Space, right? Like, chance to play it again on current gen, you know, maybe make it look a little nicer. Like, I would love to play that game again. And so there's that element of like, okay, they're making a new one. It's from at least some of the people who are behind that franchise, so that's exciting. There's some quotes out there where they're like, where our aim is to make the scariest game, which is like, okay, but also, yes, please. Yeah. You know, I think that's something that Dead Space lost as it went on.
Oh,
like,
yeah, specifically 3.
Even with 2, right? Like 3 especially, but I think even 2 lost a little bit of that. And so it's really all I need, right? It's like, okay, cool, great. Like, it's their first game, so I don't want to like put a lot of trust in them, but yeah, you know, this is something I want. You know, I've wanted another, like, it's kind of like with Resident Evil, right? Where it's like, I want another Resident Evil, but I want it to be like a legit Resident Evil. And we got Resident Evil 7, and I'm like, great, you're listening.
Yeah.
This is a similar deal, right? It's like, I've wanted another Dead Space, but I wanted it specifically to be like the first one. And from the very, very, very small amount of details we have on this, that seems to be the route they're going. And so I'm happy, and that's all I need. I'll wait. There'll be plenty of stuff in between. There's one thing I want to ask you about, Collin, though.
Yeah.
Before we move on to your number one. Did you know the Callisto project takes place in the PUBG universe?
Oh, no.
It is sometime in the future.
The biggest eye roll I've ever done right now.
It is sometime in the future, but that is apparently the case. As someone who has never played PUBG, I have absolutely no idea what that means.
It's like PUBG 40K, like, instead of Warhammer. It's like, oh yeah. My goodness. That sounds like to me like they're going to make another PUBG, but it's like sci-fi instead.
Maybe. It could be right.
I did not know that. that is. Is it weird that I'm like less excited knowing that now?
It's a weird thing, and it does
Okay.
I think it does maybe, I don't know. I feel like it's maybe too early to be concerned, but maybe a year from now when it's like, all right, and here to debut the new exciting multiplayer mode to the Callisto project, and then it's just like a battle royale. Then it would be a little. Then it would be sad.
Then I can kill like the monster that's in the trailer and then do like a Fortnite dance on top of it with like a frying pan.
And what's even cooler is you'll be Kratos.
Oh, and Master Chief taking down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Master Chief
Collin,
with an AK-47 running through.
We've reached the time.
Yeah.
For your number one, what was your number one pick?
I think you know what it is.
Actually, I feel like I'm not sure.
Well, basically, based on my reaction that I probably texted you on Thursday night of this, I don't have an Xbox, but Perfect Dark is really up there because Perfect Dark has a very soft spot in my heart. Yeah. I've been playing the N64 game, and I even had the GBA, it was Game Boy Color version that had like an extra, it had like a bigger pack on it, and I want to say like maybe there was like a Rumble part, I think it was like Rumble maybe in the Game Boy Color that you had to put like a separate AAA battery in. I've always enjoyed Perfect Dark, even so that when I finally got an Xbox 360 in like 2016, one of the first games I bought on it was Perfect Dark Zero, and that game is not great, specifically when it runs at like 15 frames per second. And we had heard rumors that the Initiative was the new Xbox studio that's in Santa Monica isn't that the Phil Spencer had that quote about the Initiative being like quadruple A games, or something like that. So like that's what the Initiative is working on. And for some reason, like it had been rumored that like, oh, the Initiative is going to work on Perfect Dark or something. I don't think anybody expected the Initiative to be here, especially when Aaron Greenberg, who's like Xbox marketing guy, said like, hey, just temper your expectations a little bit. Like, don't go too crazy. Yeah. Really, their big announcement was right after Sephiroth, I believe. The next announcement was Perfect Dark, and I'll tell you the moment I knew. So they have a little trailer talking with some of the developers. And I want to say one of the developers I did count out was, I want to say his name was Drew Murray, who used to work at Insomniac. Worked on Resistance 3, worked on Sunset Overdrive. He was in this trailer, and I thought that's who that was, and I think it still is. But there's a part where they get to a hallway and there's a gun on the side of the wall shooting, and it looks very similar to like the briefcase gun from like the original Perfect Dark. And that was when I was like, wait a minute, is this it? Then they go up to the top of the skyscraper and they showed the Datadyne logo, and that's when I was like, that's when I got really excited. I kind of had like
nice.
Fists clenched, like yes, like so excited.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, like it was really, and it's like the same. It had been the same thing with like Banjo in Smash that I mentioned earlier. It's like I don't even have these platforms, or even like Xbox, but I'm so excited for these rare properties.
Yeah.
So seeing Joanna Dark, she's back, and it seems like she is like a full-on agent, where like Perfect Dark Zero was more of like, she wasn't an agent until like the end of that game. Perfect Dark Zero was more of like a prequel. I don't know if this game officially takes place after the original Perfect Dark. I would like that to be. I don't know even if this is just a reboot of Perfect Dark. I actually haven't read too much into it about that, but I just had no expectation that, one, the Initiative game was going to be here, and two, that a new Perfect Dark was going to show up at all. So this is certainly a game that's making me not necessarily want an Xbox, but a game that makes me feel like, man, I gotta upgrade my PC. Like, man, I need like a better PC to play these Xbox games on PC.
I have absolutely no history with Perfect Dark, so like obviously the trailer was like, oh, cool, yeah, good. I will say, I know that I think like you generally have like kind of tuned out certain sections of the internet. This is something I think has leaked.
Did it? Okay,
as well.
I didn't know it.
I don't
had
know if it was
officially.
specifically tied to the initiative, but I think the like at the concept of a Perfect Dark game being made was like something that I feel like had been known.
And I had heard that. I didn't know if it was like confirmed.
But I don't think it was
se.
tied to the initiative, because I think like you, like with the initiative, I just assumed that they were doing a whole new thing.
Yeah, new IP. Yeah.
And what was funny about that whole trailer is I didn't recognize any of the callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, it would be cool to like know the name of the thing they're working on, but obviously we won't know anything about it. So what is kind of cool about something like this is like, I get it's similar to like Dead Space, right? Or like the Callisto Project, where I mean, at least this is like full on an entry in that series, and so it's like okay, like you have a general idea of what this will be, which is nice, and I will accept it over BioWare, or over Dragon Age and Mass Effect, because this is the first time they're talking about it.
Yeah, sure. Like, honestly, like in a weird.
I swear to God, if the next time EA talks about Mass Effect, it's another just like CG teaser trailer, I will scream.
I mean, they did the same thing with Andromeda when they announced that. Like, they announced just Shepard walking away, or not Shepard, but like a Mass Effect-y character walking away from a window. Yeah. And it's like, Mass Effect coming soon. And it's okay. Yeah. Like, the weird thing is that, like, if I were Phil Spencer, I would not have greenlit another Perfect Dark game. I just would not have done that. I feel like if you got a brand new studio,
it's definitely interesting, yeah. Like the choice, right? Of like, here's this, their like dream team, like we're putting together, to bring us the quadruple A game everyone wants, and you know nothing against Perfect Dark. Obviously, it has like obviously I hear you love it, and like a lot of people do just from the reactions, right? Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. I think it's almost the same as if like Sony was like, all right, here we go. We're putting the dream team together. It's a brand new studio. They're going to make A games. Yeah. And then the franchise they choose is like Parappa. Or it's almost or like, Jak and Daxter.
Yeah, right? I was going to exactly. It's almost like Naughty Dog. Oh, okay. It's kind of like it's like a Naughty Dog put out like Uncharted, and then they've done The Last of Us, and now they're going to be like, our next big project is Jak 4. And it's like, well, I mean, like, I guess.
Or Jak 5, right?
Or 4 or 5, I don't know, whatever. Because they had the racing one and the PSP one. I don't know.
It's Jak. It's just called Jak, but the A is flipped, so it looks like a V for 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jak 5 jacked. I don't know.
My number 1.
Yeah.
Was also It Takes Two.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And I think by far it was the most exciting thing that we saw all night. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of it. We got a date. It's not that far away. I think it looks fantastic. It like looks good enough that it gets me to tweet live. Yeah, which doesn't happen much.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So what I will say, because we've talked at length about It Takes Two, I'll take this opportunity to just very, very quickly name drop a few other things that I thought were cool. Mm-hmm. Open Roads, the new game from Fulbright, the developers behind Gone Home and Tacoma. We don't know much about this game. Very short teaser. Things I like about it. 1, the art style of the characters. Yeah. So the mom and daughter duo are like hand drawn in what appears to just be a 3D environment. So like a really interesting contrast between the characters and the world that they're in, just from the teaser trailer. I don't know if this game will be first person. I assume it probably will be. Don't know how many characters you'll see in person. I assume at least your mom and or daughter, depending on who you're playing as. A lot we don't know. It seemed to tease a mystery, but it made me think a lot about how Gone Home, of the two, that's the one I played, also teases a mystery that kind of like leads you astray a little bit. Like it teases a ghost house when it's actually something different. And this seemed to tease like a dark family secret kind of deal going on, but it made me wonder, like, are they going to swerve on that too? Either way, I just like really liked the very little short teaser we got of that. Yeah. So enough to get me interested. Very excited to hear Disco Elysium is finally coming to consoles in a few months. Have not played that game. I don't know why I have not played that game, but I'm very excited to play that game. Another thing that jumped out to me, Endless Dungeons.
Yeah, it's a Sega thing.
Yeah, science fiction dungeon crawler. It's kind of cool, like a bunch of weird looking characters in a band, and then it's a dungeon. It's like just a cool trailer. And it's a pretty typical looking like top down twin stick shooter looking thing. It looks like a roguelike. I just like the look of the characters, and I like the way the game looks, and so it definitely like has caught my eye. Other than that, those are a few things I just wanted to name drop really briefly. I feel like we cannot end. Oh, Scarlet Nexus still looking great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like we cannot end this without mentioning a couple things. One, my number 0 is the Among Us developers reacting to winning awards.
Oh, okay.
Just wholesome, just nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we can't end without mentioning or talking about Vin Diesel.
Yeah. That's the second time in a row he's shown up at the Game Awards in a video game.
2 years in a row.
He was in.
Have you ever played
I didn't
Ark?
know what that was. I have not. It looks like a complete mess from what I've usually seen. Like it's like a Conan Exiles kind of like thing where it's like on servers and kind of.
I know people who play it and love it. I've been curious from time to time. One thing I'll say about this trailer is one, I think the use of Vin Diesel actually ruined this trailer for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I don't know, because I couldn't tell if it was his face or it was the animation that looked really weird to me.
Yeah.
Like when he was fighting the like other characters, just the way I couldn't tell if it was the way that he was animating or if it was just I was seeing Vin Diesel on a CG character.
Mm-hmm.
One of the two. But like it was completely taking me out of it every single time. I was like, I don't think I can deal with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even know, from the very little I know about Ark, I don't even know what Ark 2 even means.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. It's almost like a No Man's Sky 2, right? Where you're like, okay, what?
Like, I think of that trailer, and it's like, I really feel like Vin Diesel is going to have absolutely nothing to do with that game. Like, the only reason Vin Diesel is there is just for that, like, openings. It may be opening and then, like, ending cinematic. And, like, that's the only thing Vin Diesel has to do with it. It's like, you know, almost the, like, MMO, like, Blizzard, and then, like, Knights of the Old... Not Knights... Star Wars The Old Republic, where they put out these, like, giant cinematics that are, like, beautiful, and then, like, the game is, like, nothing like that. You know, it's just... like an MMO or an RPG kind of thing.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple things that I was down on as well. In addition, I mean, we got to put the EA stuff up there. Other than It Takes Two, pretty high up there. Mm-hmm. I thought I texted you during it the Crimson Desert trailer. If you remember this trailer at all, way too long. Holy
Very
cow!
long.
I eventually was like, okay, I'm getting up and I'm doing something else. And
Very
like
long.
the trailer was doing absolutely nothing for me. So kind of not great on that one. It says like winter 2021. I guess that's when that's coming out. But
I guess I'm just that game because it was a really hyped up like this is all running in engine. Mm-hmm. This is real.
Yeah.
And so it's the preamble they give whenever you're like, okay, whatever we're about to see next is going to be crazy, and it's like it's possibly going to be something that never comes out.
Yeah.
It actually reminded me a lot of there was a game I think it revealed for PS4. I think it was Project something, which I know is not saying anything. I think it was from like Psy Games, and it was just like a knight fighting a dragon. This is what I remember of it, like an arena, and it looked visually crazy, but it was like we never heard from it again. And this is the kind of vibe that game was giving me.
Yeah.
It was giving me Dragon's Dogma vibes, but it was also giving me vibes of like, we may never see this game again.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And I also think the stream quality wasn't doing it any favors.
I agree with that too. I was watching on Twitch, I think. I was on YouTube and then went over to Twitch, so I know I'm trying to get the best as I can. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't think it looked all that great on stream. Speaking of another game that I don't think looked all that great on stream, I think this is a game that they won't. I would assume the developer and publisher wanted them to talk more about, but Back for Blood, the new Turtle Rock game with WB, developers of everybody's favorite Evolve and the more known Left 4 Dead franchise.
It was funny how this popped up because like a few minutes before this was revealed, my brother and I were talking about Evolve. because like there was some other, there was like
yeah.
we saw like a lot of like zombie games, a lot of 4-player, you know, hunting them games and stuff like that. And we started talking about like, man, like remember Evolve? And then a few minutes later, this showed up.
Yeah.
It's I mean, so these are like, here's the thing, right? Like these are ex Left 4 Dead people, and the reason why like there was a lot of hype about Evolve before it came out is because it was Left 4 Dead people. And then it didn't really pan out the way they probably wanted. Yeah. And this game is very obviously Left 4 Dead 3 in all but name.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean,
I just didn't think it looked.
The best for him.
I mean, again, it's probably. I mean,
but
granted,
I feel like
so
I do feel like they might have a bit
alpha.
of. Yeah, I think post Evolve, I feel like they probably have a little bit of an uphill climb, but hopefully they've learned some lessons. I think one of the things I was thinking about with Evolve is, if you think about the time it came out, it was kind of before the early, like the free to play stuff really. You know, got big like the way it is now. And I feel like Evolve would have been a perfect game to be free to play had it been released in the last couple of years, and probably would have done okay.
Yeah, and
you know, I think a lot of the things that really hurt Evolve were at launch was like very high prices for DLC and stuff like that, and it was also a full price game. And so I think if like this Back 4 Blood comes out free to play, cosmetic microtransactions, and has like good development support, then you know they might find themselves with something that they can stand on. But
I think something else that so they have announced that a closed alpha is December 17th, which is very soon.
Forgot about that.
And I think something that when I think of Evolve, I also think of the original Titanfall, and I think Evolve more, because I feel like when Evolve was coming out, they had their alphas, their betas, all that stuff. And like streamers were everywhere talking about this game. Like it was press coverage like crazy.
I was excited for Evolve. Everybody's talking like about trying to get people in.
Yeah, everybody was talking about how excited they were for this. And then like that game just came out and it was just a dud. Like the communities just did not latch onto that. They eventually tried making it free to play, I think, Evolve at one point. I want to say there was like a free to play model with some DLC, and so like with the game coming out, I think their release date was June 22nd. I just hope that with a closed alpha, and I'm sure a closed beta and all that they just, you know, I just feel like they're gonna just put all that coverage out, and then it's like when the game actually comes out, it's just gonna be like, oh, okay, whatever. But we'll see.
Maybe.
June 22nd. Other than that, my so your kind of a favorite moment, I guess I would say, is certainly the Among Us developers. I'd say that's actually really good.
That was a really good feel good.
My favorite though was the award for best ongoing game, where you have Call of Duty and Apex Legends, and Sean Murray's just sitting there on the far right, just chilling, just drinking away, and then they announce the award for No Man's Sky, and Sean Murray's like, what? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, and then he's like, has to put the drink down and then like talk. Like, you can clearly
like,
tell
a lot
he
of people
did not expect that award at all.
A lot of people start their award like acceptance speech with, "I really didn't think it." This is like the one that I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That I forgot about that.
That was
somehow,
my favorite
but
moment.
yes,
Just Sean Murray. Just
that's
like,
an incredible moment.
Hello. Oh crap! I gotta talk now. Like, it was just like, I'll just get on this.
You know, I will say, I kind of at first I was a little weirded out by it, but I actually did like having all the like the webcam feeds of all the people nominated.
I like that
was
too.
cool.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it gave for like more raw reactions, kind of like the Sean Murray one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know, I know you. I went back and forth on it a lot. I really don't know where I would have landed on like Ellie versus Abby as far as best performance.
Yeah.
I found myself totally happy with Laura Bailey taking it, just because of what she's dealt with this year.
I know. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
But you know, like her speech was, I thought, really nice and heartfelt. Yeah, you know, I thought, again, just I think the show overall, I feel like they just, you know, the announcements are weird, right? Because it's like sometimes you just have years where there's not a lot of great announcements. I think last year was kind of one of them. And it's just like, you know, there's not really much they can do with it, right? Like they just play with the cards they're dealt. But I think for constructing a show with what they've got and, you know, putting on a award show and like making it feel like a big deal. And especially with this year, like I said it at the start, but I think, you know, the team, Jeff Keighley and his team of people, however large they are, I don't know, they deserve a lot of credit because like they keep doing them every year. And I think this year easily they could have not, or they could have made it really small scale.
Right.
But they still like they did whatever they had to make it feel like an event again, which was nice. We haven't had a lot of them this year, and it was nice. I was very appreciative that they pulled it off again.
Yeah, and I don't think it's certainly the longest one because I mean it was getting close to 3 hours, but
there was a couple years where they went very long.
Yeah, it was like
definitely trimmed the fat a bit.
Yeah, but I still feel like writing all this down in a doc, like I still think like this might be the biggest that they've had. Like I don't recall like making a list this massive of stuff
that might be the case.
But
yeah.
But again, sad Final Fantasy VII remake.
Other couple shout outs. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think Collin, you and I don't know when we should. You know, there's still a few games I want to play through. We should definitely do a Game of the Year show.
Sure.
Maybe even like first week of January if you know if we're still working through stuff. But I think you and I both, as of right now, FF7 probably taking our top spot.
Yeah.
I got a game though. I do have a game I'm playing right now that might unseat it, but we'll see.
Man, you're still playing Godfall? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
So what's funny is, so I did Platinum Demon Souls, and my final play time with that is like 37 hours. And Godfall is sitting at 42.
Oh, jeez.
Something wrong with me. We should definitely do one of those for sure. What I was gonna, something else I was gonna mention. Other quick shout out for the Game Awards. All the musical stuff they did, I thought ended up really great. It was a lot of like, we recorded them in the studio. Eddie Vedder just from his home.
That was really cool. Yeah.
It didn't occur to me, but like the song choice for him makes perfect sense. I thought it was great. I think I've heard the story before watching like Troy Baker's stream, but Troy Baker came out and like told a story about why that song was used. And I thought that was really cool and effective.
Yeah.
And of course I don't know if this is just like Jeff Keighley's ideal and he's run with it every year, but like the yearly melody of all the games nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Every year it just is great. It's just great.
You know, I was thinking about it the other day, like that has to be like like when you look at like the top expenses for the show, like that orchestra has to be like up there, like the highest expense of the show, because they had the London Orchestra or whatever, like of course, you know, pre-recorded, but like it's still like really kind of cool that they had that. They did the Mario, then they did the Game of the Year stuff was really cool.
And I think that's definitely what I was getting at earlier, is like they could very easily just not have done that this year. And I think people would have understood. And so I appreciate that, like, they still did. They were like, no, like, this is a part of the Game Awards. Like, we need to do it. It's a yearly thing. It's really cool. Because as it turns out, typically, if you're nominated for Game of the Year, you probably got some pretty good music. Probably.
Yeah.
That was certainly the case for the games this year. One final thing before we close. I feel like there wasn't really a lot of games that got shafted either. Like, I think sometimes, you know, like The Last of Us ran away with it, right? Like, it was very clear early on that it was going to win a crazy amount of awards. I think it was clear early on it was going to win Game of the Year. But it was nice to see that Final Fantasy VII still won some stuff. Animal Crossing still won. Hades, I think, still won a couple of awards. So it was good to see that there was still like a nice like sprinkling across all the Game of the Year nominees.
Right.
Even if one still just like cleaned house. So
I do have one final question for you that I'm jumping the gun by a good 12 months here, but I think it's interesting to note that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was nominated for a few awards. I'm going to assume that's because of the cutoff. Are we assuming that Cyberpunk 2077 will be nominated for Game of the Year in the 2021 Game Awards?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if you think that that's like a full possibility.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I think what would, like, I don't, so I'm going to say something, and I don't mean it because it's 12 years from now, or 12 months out.
He means it.
But, yeah. I think, like, I think the next couple months will determine if it has a chance.
Sure. Yep.
You know, it's the state that it's in right now, the way it's being received. Even, yes, of course, I know that, like, Metacritic is, like, 90 plus, right?
Right.
But I think it's the type of game that the next few weeks goes one of two ways, right? Like, it either there's like a more public and growing outcry of like, this game is busted, this is bad. From what I've heard about the writing, even it's like, dude, what? I think there's also, there's also the angle of like, this is touched on in some reviews and not so much in others, but there's the way it handles like gender and the way it handles other like kind of political things and its edginess and the way it like kind of dances around certain subject matter in its writing. Like, I think that also might have a role to play as well. Like, I think I could see a world where 3 months from now people are kind of sick of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
2077 specifically, not like.
Sure.
I could also see a world in 3 or 4 months from now where the PS5 version comes out, the Series X version comes out, PC version's running great, looks great, the bugs are starting to get cleared out, the kind of the way that Witcher 3 worked out, right? Where the Witcher 3 eventually just became really solid. And I could also see a world where 5 months from now, maybe a lot of the rougher aspects of the writing is just kind of ignored as everything else is kind of paved and made smooth. And people start playing it on their new consoles, and they're like, man, this is great.
Yeah.
And that revitalizes the conversation, like, midway through next year. And then at that point, I think it's probably a lock, like, if that's the way it goes. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just listening to some of the impressions from people, like, the last week. It has convinced me that, like, I don't want to play the game. Like, I was pretty much like, I'm going to wait for the patch. I'm really excited for this. But the more I hear about, like, the writing and just the quest structure of this game, the more I'm like, I'm good. Actually, I'm okay.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that has gotten me to maybe want to play it, years down the road, is that it just feels like I typed in howlongtobeat.com and it was like main quest 20 hours. It's like, okay, I can do this. I think
I feel like no one like brings it up when they talk about it, because like leading to this game's release, it was always hundreds of hours, and consistently every preview or every review or every like impressions video after the review's been posted that I've watched, they've all been like, yeah, the story is probably about 20 hours. I beat it in like 40. Yeah. Or I beat it in like 50 doing a lot of the side missions. And I'm like, where are these other numbers coming from?
Right. Yeah.
Because they don't, like, even the people that are like, yeah, I beat it in like 40 or 50, it doesn't sound like they mainlined it. Like, it doesn't sound like they didn't take their time.
Right.
And that's fine with me, like kind of like it with you, right? That makes me a little bit more interested.
Yeah.
Because the 175 hours from their QA person was like, I'm good.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it makes me wonder, it's like, what? Like, I know people usually inflate their playtime, but...
Yeah, for sure.
That's a bit extreme.
Yeah. But that has been the Game Awards of 2020. Yep. The
Game Awards are officially over now.
Yeah. The annual Keeleys will be back for maybe Summer Game Fest 2021 with opening night live. Who knows?
Yeah, we should definitely do a 2021 prediction show as well and talk about whether or not E3 will happen next year.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I will have to see if whoever wants to put money up for that, if the ESA or whoever wants to put money up for that, we'll see. But again, that has been... Oh, go ahead.
I have an idea. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Please be excited.
Yeah.
But again, thanks so much for listening for about hour and a half discussion on this. What did you think about the Game Awards? Please let us know down in the comments. And we'll see you next time. We'll be back with some more video games. See ya.